As her alarm clock beeps, Towa Takanashi's first thought of the day is about the meaning of love. She knows that for sirens, love comes in many forms, including a primal instinct. Stretching her large white wings, she acknowledges the siren's curse, the urge to devour the ones they love, finding the adorable to be delicious. Towa is confident that no one could praise Shibuya more than she could. True to form, Shibuya rushes to help a girl in need, confirming Towa's high opinion of him. Overwhelmed with emotion, Towa admits to herself how much she truly likes him. She lists his admirable qualities, calling him cheerful, reliable, and heroic. As she takes his picture, her feelings intensify into a powerful declaration of love, her fangs subtly appearing. She admires his mysterious eyes and lovely button nose. She even finds his hands incredibly sexy. Towa realizes that when it comes to Shibuya, her praise is endless. She gazes at his photo, whispering how much she likes him. As she watches Shibuya from a window, her intense love culminates in a terrifying thought: she loves him so much she could eat him up. Towa is startled when her friend Mimi catches her taking photos. Mimi teases her, asking if she's snapping secret pictures of Shibuya yet again. Towa defensively claims she would buy them if they were sold officially, which Mimi points out is unlikely for a regular student. Mimi observes that Towa is clearly smitten and giggles at how extra she is about it. Mimi insists that Towa should hurry and tell Shibuya how she feels. Towa refuses, arguing that no one has ever gotten together with Shibuya before. Mimi drops a bombshell. A rumor is spreading that Kazue Sakurai, their grade's most beautiful girl, is confessing to him tomorrow. Mimi reminds Towa that her crush on Shibuya dates all the way back to middle school. She pushes Towa to confess, asking if she's sure she won't regret it if she never tries. Ignoring Towa's hesitation, Mimi declares that it's decided and they're going. Towa tries to explain that even if she could date him, she has personal issues to consider. Towa tells Mimi that her issues are quite serious and require careful thought. Mimi watches her friend, puzzled by what these issues could be. As she walks away, Towa reflects on her secret, one she cannot share even with Mimi. Towa internally reveals her secret identity as a demi-human known as a siren. She recalls the lore of sirens, monsters with human torsos and bird-like wings and legs that enchant and devour people. She explains that it is now against the law for sirens to eat humans. It's a rule for sirens to hide their identities to live within human society. Her mother's words echo in her mind, a warning that she can never be with the one she truly loves. In a memory, Towa's mother explains that when sirens truly fall in love, they crave to devour their beloved. Her mother's advice was to choose someone she felt comfortable with, but for whom her feelings were only lukewarm. She believed this was the only way for Towa to find happiness. Young Towa had simply agreed, not fully understanding the implications. Towa huddles in her bed, distressed. The thought of another girl confessing to Shibuya torments her. She feels that if she can't be with the one she truly loves, happiness is impossible. The school bell rings, signaling the end of the day. At his locker, Shibuya finds a sealed envelope. The note asks him to meet after school, as someone will be waiting for him. Towa confesses to Shibuya, telling him she has liked him ever since middle school. Stammering, she asks him to please go out with her. A memory of a man's stern instruction to rid himself of worldly desires flashes through his mind. Shibuya bows deeply and apologizes to Towa. He bluntly states that he doesn't feel the same way about her. He adds that he currently has more important things to worry about than romance, leaving Towa stunned. Towa is left speechless after the rejection. Walking down the stairs, she admits to herself that she knew this would happen. She knew he would reject her. Even after being turned down, she admits to herself that she still likes him so much. Her mind returns to a past conversation where he asked why she doesn't talk. Towa remembers a time when she was working silently in the classroom. She recalls serving on the student committee with Shibuya when he had asked her a direct question. He had quickly apologized, saying she didn't have to answer and admitting that he's often told he's insensitive. But he explained that he was just curious. He pointed out that she never reads aloud or speaks to her classmates, but he had seen her the other day, chatting happily with someone he presumed was her mother. He had asked her directly if there was a reason for the difference. The question brought back painful memories for Towa, who admitted to herself that back then, she was afraid of talking. The memory of her classmates' shocked faces was seared into her mind. She recalled the boy clutching his ear, bleeding. She explained that in elementary school, she got into an argument and accidentally ruptured a boy's eardrums. It happened because her siren powers were awakening and got out of hand. It wasn't on purpose. She came to the conclusion that her voice could hurt people. Although she eventually gained control of her powers, she was still too afraid to speak to anyone besides her mother. She longed to be with her friends, but decided it was better to be alone than risk hurting someone again. She had written down her resolve, believing that staying silent would prevent problems for everyone. Shibuya asked why she felt she had to care about that past incident. Towa was shocked by his seemingly cold response. Shibuya immediately tried to clarify, realizing he had misspoken. Towa couldn't believe his insensitivity, thinking he didn't understand her feelings at all. He explained that he mentioned it because she looked so happy when she was talking. He continued that while being considerate is important, it's meaningless if it causes her to suffer. He argued that if anyone was truly bothered by her talking, they were the ones with the problem. He reassured her, saying he didn't think she would cause problems for anyone just by talking to them. Shibuya sighed in relief, glad he was able to convey his thoughts properly, while Towa was struck by his words. Tears well up in Towa's eyes as she clutches the paper in her hands. She realized that for so long, all she wanted was for someone to tell her that it's okay. Towa talks with her friends in the hallway. She explains that what Shibuya said to her wasn't anything special. But still, it meant the world to her. His simple reassurance that it's okay was all she needed. She stammers slightly before explaining that his words gave her the push she needed. She found that nothing bad happened and she could talk without issue. She happily recalls that she even made new friends. And so, thanks to his kindness, she found herself falling for Shibuya-kun before she even realized it. Tears stream down Towa's face as she reflects on her feelings. She feels it's all thanks to him, Shibuya-kun. She acknowledges that her life changed because of what he said to her. She firmly believes that he is her soulmate, which makes her wonder why she isn't his. She wipes away her tears, calling his name in sorrow. Suddenly, a huge, monstrous demi-human bursts through the wall, sending Shibuya flying. Towa watches in horror from the steps. Pinned by the creature, a battered Shibuya yells out her name in alarm. Towa screams Shibuya's name, terrified. She quickly processes that it was a demi-human attack, but is left wondering why. Realizing Shibuya is in trouble, she overcomes her fear and dashes towards the scene. The sounds of the fight lead her to an old, abandoned building. She runs inside, calling his name and believing they must be in there. A mysterious, sparkling scent emanates from a dark doorway. The scent washes over her, triggering a powerful reaction. Her eyes change, a sign of her awakening siren nature, as she recognizes it's a scent she's never smelled before. Lying on the ground, Shibuya exudes an irresistible scent that she compares to the most wonderful aromas imaginable. Her siren instincts begin to twitch uncontrollably. Shibuya sees her and tells her to stay back. He yells at her to run for her life. He insists he'll follow after a moment, prioritizing her safety. Towa is paralyzed by her conflicting desires, wondering what to do. Her siren instincts overwhelm her, and Shibuya now appears to her as a delicious piece of meat. She recalls the fundamental truth of her kind: true love awakens the urge to devour. She never knew that the blood of her beloved would sharpen her appetite so intensely. A monstrous shadow of her instincts looms behind her as she's consumed by the desire to devour him completely. Shibuya, still on the ground, desperately calls out to her. He screams at her to run, insisting that it's too dangerous for her to be there. She sees Shibuya, injured and yet only worried about her safety. She thinks about how kind-hearted he is. She asks herself what she's doing. The person she likes is hurt right in front of her. The person she loves. Tears fill her eyes as she comes to a realization. She realizes she didn't fall in love with him just to eat him. She apologizes and tells Shibuya she can't just leave him there. Her true desire is to be with her beloved Shibuya. She fantasizes about going on dates and eating out together. She wanted to hold his hand. She wanted all of it. Her wings spread wide as she makes her declaration. She wants to live her life with him. She reassures him with a confident smile, telling him not to worry. She swears to a stunned Shibuya that she won't let him die. A loud crack echoes as the monster stirs. The monster bursts from the rubble, landing before the two students. Shibuya shouts her name in warning. The monster comments on Towa's nice smell. It grins menacingly, asking who it should eat first. The monster roars and lunges toward them. Towa stands defiantly and yells for the monster not to touch her beloved. Towa unleashes a powerful sonic scream, shattering the air around the monster. The monster's tough scales crack and snap under the immense pressure of her voice. The monster crashes heavily to the ground. Towa is stunned, realizing she did it, and that it was the first time she'd ever used her power to attack someone. She rushes to Shibuya's side, asking if he's okay and offering to call an ambulance. The monster suddenly grabs at its face, not fully defeated. It furiously accuses her of cracking its scales and calls her a demi-human sheriff. Towa is left confused by the accusation. Suddenly, Shibuya stands and fires a gun at the monster, shielding Towa with his body. Towa looks at him in utter shock and confusion. Shibuya puts his gun down, telling her she saved him from a losing battle. He wobbles slightly, admitting he never suspected she was also a demi-human. Towa tries to make sense of what she heard, wondering if he really said demi-human sheriff. Demi-human sheriffs are officers who enforce the law between humans and demi-humans. Their duties include everything from office work to subduing criminals. They specifically deal with demi-humans who have gotten out of hand. For this reason, they aren't people most demi-humans want to associate with, leading Towa to a shocking conclusion about Shibuya. Towa panics, realizing that sheriffs are forbidden from romance, though it does little to quell her feelings. Shibuya correctly identifies her as a siren based on her appearance and attack. He gets close, looking her in the eyes and asking why she didn't eat him. He explains that he knows a siren's appetite is a powerful craving, and asks why she resisted. Towa is overwhelmed, stammering as she feels the intensity of his scent. With him staring so close, she feels like she's going to have a heart attack. She shouts that she doesn't want to eat him. She cries that if she ate him, he would be gone forever. And that would mean they could never go on dates or even kiss. Shibuya looks on, taken aback by her emotional outburst. Towa continues to cry, overwhelmed by her own confession. Shibuya stares at her, a look of shock and realization on his face. Shibuya has never been in love. His heart begins to pound, a strange new feeling washing over him. Shibuya has never fallen in love until this very moment. His heart pounds as he wonders why his chest feels so hot. He recalls his mentor's strict command to rid himself of worldly desires to be strong. His immediate trained reaction is that he must get away from her. He thinks that it's not just for his sake, getting involved might put Takanashi in danger. He resolves to keep his distance and forget about what happened. He tries to force himself to forget everything. Towa calls out to him, noticing his strange expression. She asks him with genuine concern if he's okay and if he's hurt. Looking at her, Shibuya realizes he doesn't want it to end. With the monster defeated behind them, Shibuya makes a decision and asks Towa if she would like to go on a date with him. Towa is shocked into silence, only able to utter a confused "huh." Shibuya watches her reaction, blushing and nervous. Shibuya jolts, panicking as he realizes what he just impulsively said. As he starts to stammer an explanation, Towa quietly accepts. He reaffirms his failings, stating that he also wants to go on a date with her. As they face each other, a new story begins for the unlikely couple. Towa thinks back on everything that has happened in the last 2 days. After the battle, Shibuya had assured her he would handle the rest and sent her on her way. To her surprise, they had even exchanged contact information. Later, a text from Shibuya arrived, asking when she would be free for their date. Towa rereads the messages, planning their date. She clutches her phone, her heart fluttering at how formal he is, questioning if this is reality. She honestly thought the entire ordeal, from the fight to her conversation with Shibuya, was all a dream. The fear of waking up from this wonderful dream kept her awake that night. Towa's fears are put to rest when Shibuya calls out to her, confirming their date is real. He seems happy to see her, asking if he's made her wait. Towa is completely taken aback by his presence. She stammers that he hasn't kept her waiting at all, hiding the fact she arrived 2 hours early. Towa is stunned to see Shibuya out of his school uniform and in casual clothes. She marvels at how his simple style seems to make him glow. Internally, she struggles to keep from taking pictures of him. Shibuya notices her odd behavior and looks at her with a questioning gaze. Her heart thumps in her chest as she admits to herself how much she loves him. Her moment of adoration is interrupted by the loud growl of her hungry stomach. Unfazed, Shibuya asks if they should get going. Towa quickly agrees, trying to regain her composure. She internally questions why this is happening, despite her deep feelings for him. Towa wonders why she gets hungry, whenever she thinks about how much she likes Shibuya. The two walk together in a comfortable silence. Beside her, a nervous Shibuya is blushing and sweating. Shibuya thinks to himself that Takanashi is just too cute. He finds her frilly dress absolutely adorable. He notices her face seems to sparkle from her makeup and her pleasant scent. He immediately chastises himself for his thoughts, worried he sounds like a pervert. Shibuya mentally frets about what is happening to him, having never been on a date before and asking her out impulsively. He recalls his strict dedication to becoming a sheriff, which involved avoiding all relationships. He laments that he doesn't have time for this, but can't deny his current situation. Unaware of his turmoil, Towa is simply crying from extreme hunger. Shibuya finds himself not wanting the date to end. He acknowledges that he's never felt this way before. Towa is captivated by some cute perfume bottles, wondering what it is about her that affects him so much. They browse a shop to pass the time before their movie, and Towa thanks him for joining her. As Towa calls his name, he thinks to himself how girly she is. Towa cheerfully asks Shibuya about his favorite scents, revealing hers are peach and soap. Shibuya answers that he supposes he likes winter Daphne, much to Towa's surprise. He internally notes her preference for peach and soap. He observes that instead of simple products, she prefers things that are sparkly and cute. A warm, happy feeling spreads through Shibuya. He can't explain it, but he finds that learning more about her makes him happy. He concludes that it's just an inexplicable sense of joy that he feels when he's with her. The realization dawns on Shibuya, he must be falling in love with Takanashi. Towa wonders aloud if a perfume with that scent even exists, unaware of the approaching danger. Nearby, a mysterious woman with long, dark hair watches them, crushing a perfume bottle in her hand. Towa's face is alight with pure joy. She can't believe she's sharing a drink with Shibuya. She's in disbelief that they're sitting across from each other in a movie theater. Even playing air hockey together feels like an impossible dream. Towa is overjoyed, realizing she is actually on a date with Shibuya. Though it's a bit late, Shibuya asks if she's all right, and she confirms she is. She's amazed when he tells her the sheriff's bureau has demi-humans who can heal. The thought that she can have a normal conversation with Shibuya fills her with happiness. She revels in the simple act of walking next to him. This is what she's been dreaming of, going out to eat together, watching a movie and taking a walk. And today, that dream finally came true. Towa wishes that this perfect day could go on forever and ever, not wanting it to end. She silently prays, willing to do anything to preserve this moment. Shibuya looks at her with a gentle, contented smile. Towa looks back, her heart full. Walking by a bridge, Towa finds herself wondering why Shibuya asked her on a date. Shibuya suddenly stops and tells her that he had fun today. Shibuya sighs, admitting it's been a while since he's enjoyed himself so much, which surprises Towa. She recalls that he always turns down invitations from others. He acknowledges this, feeling a bit bad about it. He explains that his family has had demi-human sheriffs for generations and he spends all his free time working or training. He clarifies that it's his dream to become a sheriff too, and he's never considered his lifestyle a burden. But today, Shibuya admits, was really fun. He enjoyed watching a movie and talking about it with someone afterward. He even ate something he normally wouldn't have. And he got to walk around and window shop with Takanashi. Towa replies that she too had a very good time. Towa takes a chance and asks if they could go on another date. She continues, suggesting another date after that, and another as Shibuya looks on, surprised. Towa looks at him hopefully, awaiting his answer. Unseen by the pair, a strand of dark hair snakes its way toward them. Shibuya agrees to another date, but a sudden gust of wind interrupts their moment. They both turn, confused by the sudden disturbance. A massive boom echoes as a dark force explodes nearby. Towa is caught completely by surprise. A whip-like tendril of hair lashes out. Shibuya reacts, but it's too late. The hair wraps around his mouth, muffling him. The woman reveals her menacing face. She stands over them, having captured Towa, and greets the demi-human sheriff. She taunts him, asking if he supposes he remembers her. Shibuya recognizes her instantly as the two-mouthed woman. He recalls her profile, a demi-human with two mouths, weaponized hair, and a tendency to hold her love interests captive. She asks him what he's doing here, as he thinks about how careless he's been. He berates himself for being so excited about the date that he reacted too slowly. He is filled with regret for putting Takanashi in danger. The woman accuses the demi-human sheriffs of stealing the man she loved, telling Shibuya not to pretend he's forgotten. She explains that ever since that day, she has sworn to get her revenge. Towa is shocked to hear the word revenge. Shibuya coolly calls her motive a pity. He reminds her that since she never hurt her previous victim, they only gave her a slap on the wrist, but this time will be different. Shibuya points his gun at the woman, warning her to let Towa go or he'll be forced to shoot. With a snap, the woman tightens her bonds, making Towa yelp as she smiles cruelly. The woman stands triumphantly on a ledge, telling Shibuya that she is the one calling the shots now. She explains that she was in love with her darling and would do anything for love. She demands he put down his gun and listen to her terms if he wants Towa back. Shibuya grits his teeth and asks what she wants. The woman reveals her demand: she wants Shibuya. She clarifies that she wants him to date her. Towa is shocked into silence. Shibuya, still holding his gun, can only utter a confused "huh." The woman explains that she had been seeking revenge on the demi-human sheriffs, looking for the right moment. She had watched him day after day. She continued her surveillance. Until one day she realized something. She was struck by how incredibly good-looking he was. She declares that the memory of her last boyfriend's face blurs the more she looks at Shibuya, deciding that true justice lies in handsome guys. She abandons her quest for revenge and tells him to just date her instead. She promises to give Towa back if he agrees. Shibuya decides his top priority is keeping Takanashi safe, so he'll tell the woman what she wants to hear for now. The woman escalates her demands, pulling out a marriage certificate to ensure Shibuya doesn't go back on his word. He's shocked that she wants to go straight to marriage. She asks if he's willing to forsake Towa for her. Shibuya coldly replies that it doesn't bother him at all. Towa, still bound, wonders what on earth this woman is talking about. Towa muses that all the woman finds attractive about Shibuya is his face. She concedes that his looks should be considered a national treasure and that she understands the attraction. But she knows that even if Shibuya had a different face, she would have enjoyed their date just as much. She remembers being embarrassed for crying during their movie, but he thought it was cute. And she thought he was so cool when he caught something that was about to fall in a store. The moment he told her how much fun he had with her made her realize how much she truly likes him. Towa knows in her heart that even if he looked different, she still would have fallen for him that day. Towa struggles, declaring that there's no way she'll let this happen. She shouts at the woman, telling her she can't have Shibuya because she knows nothing about him. The woman asks what Towa means, pointing out that she is completely helpless. The woman mockingly asks what Towa is going to do about it when she can't even move a muscle. Towa thinks to herself that the woman is right, she can't even turn her head, but then she remembers something she learned in school. She recalls that sound can travel through objects, not just air. Shibuya realizes what she's about to do and desperately tells her not to do anything risky. Towa thinks to herself that she is also someone. She unleashes her power, declaring she's someone who would do anything. Who would do anything for Shibuya-kun. With fierce determination, Towa unleashes the full force of her siren's song, sending a powerful vibration through her captor's hair. The attack works and the two-mouthed woman lets go, sending them both falling. The woman cries out in pain and anger. Furious, she calls Towa a little brat and lunges forward. Shibuya moves in and slaps the two-mouthed woman, taking her down. The woman slumps to the ground, unconscious. Towa falls to the ground, freed from the hair. She immediately worries if she might have killed her, as Shibuya rushes to her side. Shibuya rushes to Towa, frantically asking if she's hurt and scolding her for being so reckless. He admits his terror, saying if something were to happen to her, he would. He trails off, unable to articulate his fear. He worries about what might have happened if she had done something even worse. Crying, Towa says she'll turn herself in, thinking she'll at least be with Shibuya's handcuffs. Shibuya tells her not to worry, explaining that the woman has only passed out. He explains that the special handcuffs have an electrical current that weakens demi-humans and she won't be able to move a finger. He adds that since she's a repeat offender, she won't be getting out for a while. He then checks her wrists for injuries from the tight bonds, causing her to let out a squeal of joy. Towa quickly reassures him that her wrists are fine and it's nothing serious. She then apologizes for her outburst. Shibuya apologizes in turn for getting her involved in his work. He then brings the conversation back to her earlier question about future dates. Shibuya looks down and tells her that they should make today's date their last one. Towa is left speechless and confused. She asks him why, her voice filled with disbelief. She presses him for an answer, reminding him that he just said he had fun. Towa asks if his decision is because she's a siren. The unconscious woman groans about a demi-human wanting to eat Shibuya. With tears in her eyes, Towa asks if it's because she's a monster. Shibuya shouts that of course that's not the reason. He insists that her being a siren is just part of her nature and would never be a reason for him to dislike her. He explains that it's actually a relief she's a demi-human because of her strength. He flashes back to a painful memory from his childhood. A young Shibuya stands before the funeral portraits of his parents. He tells Towa that it was his fault for letting his guard down. He confesses that he thought his heart was going to stop when she was captured. He concludes that if she keeps hanging around him, he'll only put her in more danger. He explains that a sheriff like him and an average citizen like her can't live in the same world together. Towa asks hopefully if that means he doesn't hate her. Shibuya quickly reassures her that of course he doesn't. He insists there's not a single reason that he would. A brilliant idea dawns on Towa. If the only issue is their different worlds, then she'll just have to become a demi-human sheriff too. She believes this will solve all of their problems. Shibuya is utterly confused by her line of thinking. She excitedly asks him what he thinks, certain that she's right. Towa explains that if their different worlds are the only barrier, then all she has to do is move to his world. She confidently declares that she will become a strong demi-human sheriff, so he won't have to worry about her. Shibuya is stunned by her bold declaration. He's jolted back to reality. He protests, telling her she can't do it. He explains that it's a dangerous job where she'd risk death and get hurt constantly. Towa asks if he would stop liking her if she got scars. Blushing furiously, Shibuya tells her not to be ridiculous. He tries to explain that he just doesn't want her in danger, but she counters that it's her right to try. Towa promises he won't have to worry about her anymore, while Shibuya clutches his head in disbelief, wondering how this happened. Towa's mother sits across from her at the breakfast table, asking in disbelief what her daughter just said. Towa repeats herself, declaring her intention to become a demi-human sheriff. Sasano stands over Towa's desk, remarking that her gloomy mood is not like her at all. Sasano thinks about Towa's usual energetic demeanor, especially her fawning over Shibuya. Towa lets out a heavy sigh, telling her friend that a lot has happened. Towa flashes back to the argument, exclaiming that she never imagined her mother would be so against her dream. Her mother argued that fighting other demi-humans is just too dangerous. She declared that if Towa chose such a risky career, she would go crazy and even start smoking. Her mother even threatened to stop making her lunch properly. Towa recalls her mother's ultimate fear, that she couldn't go on living if something were to happen to her. Towa thinks to herself that she must find a way to become a demi-human sheriff without her mother's knowledge. Sasano calls out to the distracted Towa, who is slumped over her desk. Just then Shibuya greets her, catching her by surprise. Towa looks up, wide-eyed and flustered by his sudden appearance. Sasano greets Shibuya as he walks past their desks. Shibuya quietly asks Towa if her injuries from the other day left any marks, and she insists she's totally fine. Visibly relieved, Shibuya expresses his gladness. He earnestly asks her to promise she won't push herself too hard. Towa agrees to his request, thanking him. As Shibuya and Towa part ways, Sasano watches them, realizing Towa was being serious. Sasano exclaims in disbelief, asking if Towa actually went on a date and that it wasn't just another one of her delusions. Towa is too elated to care about her mother's disapproval, focusing on the fact that Shibuya spoke to her. She resolves to become a part of his life and go on another date with him. Towa steals her resolve, deciding she must become a strong demi-human sheriff for Shibuya's sake. Putting her hands together, she asks him how she can achieve her goal. Slightly surprised, Shibuya asks if she's genuinely asking him for advice on this. Towa earnestly pleads with Shibuya, telling him he is the only one she can rely on. Flustered, Shibuya asks if she has any idea what she's getting into. He questions how much she actually knows about the Sheriff's Bureau. Towa confidently explains that it's an organization that beats up and arrests bad demi-humans. Her simplistic answer leaves Shibuya utterly shocked. Shibuya explains the true, multifaceted nature of the Sheriff's Bureau, which surprises Towa. He clarifies it's a general support system to help demi-humans live in human society. He points out that becoming a sheriff isn't her only option, and there are plenty of other jobs. However, he trails off, asking if she'd still be worried even in a different role. Towa explains that she wants him to be with her, but without the constant anxiety over her safety. She shyly confesses that her motivation is because she really likes him. Shibuya stares back, completely speechless. Internally, Shibuya struggles, wishing he could just say that he likes her. He wants to confess that he likes her too, but he can't bring himself to say it. He wonders how she can be so brave, admitting that's what he likes about her. He never expected love to be such an intense feeling. His thoughts and wants are in total conflict, and he can't come up with any normal response. Towa's desires are much simpler. She wants to go on another date and always be by his side. A memory from a funeral surfaces, where an older man tells a young Kei to never forget. He was told that from now on, he is responsible for protecting the Shibuya family. Looking at the memorial photos, the man reminds him that he is the only one left. He concludes that Kei doesn't have any time to waste. Towa gently calls out to a silent Shibuya. She asks him if he really doesn't want her to be a sheriff. She then asks if this means there is no way for them to ever be together. Towa explains that she's just trying to find a way to be with him, before asking if she's simply a bother. Shibuya is stunned by her question. He firmly tells her no, she is not a bother. He confesses that honestly, he doesn't know what to do. He explains that he doesn't want her to get hurt or be in danger, and that she shouldn't be with him. But he admits he can't help but want to be with her. A memory of their date flashes through his mind. Overcome with emotion, Shibuya tearfully admits that he wants to spend more time with her. After a moment, Towa agrees to his confession. They agree they should work hard together. Towa promises to do her best to become strong so he won't have to worry. She asks that while she's training, he just has to support her. Shibuya, still overwhelmed, asks if that's really okay. Towa explains that it's not a matter of if it's okay, what's most important is what they want to do. Shibuya processes her words and agrees that she's right. Shibuya decides that he wants to work this out together with her. He clenches his fist, determined to get stronger too. Towa beams, happily agreeing with him. She discovers she can register to become a trainee online. Shibuya explains that the sheriff's bureau is gradually going digital, though the registration link is confidential. He tells her the exam is 1 month away and is divided into 3 parts. He assures her the written exam is simple common knowledge and that she won't fail. He explains that the real problem will be the physical and technical exams. Towa considers the challenge, while Shibuya promises to support her as much as possible. He declares that they will work together. Towa smiles, full of determination. With a firm step, she enthusiastically agrees. Towa starts her physical training, running with fierce determination. She thinks about how she's supposed to be physically stronger since she's a demi-human. But she knows it's still not enough, and she has to get as strong as possible before the exam. Towa's mother is surprised by her daughter's dinner request. Towa cheerfully presents her new strength training menu, declaring she's on a diet. She then informs her mother that she's joining an after-school club. Her mother asks which one. Towa cleverly lies, saying she's joining the Fine Arts Club. Towa thanks her instructor for the intense training session. The instructor tells her to push harder, and she responds with a determined, "Yes, sir." Towa unleashes a powerful sonic blast that cracks a massive tree trunk. She exclaims in amazement at her newfound strength. Shibuya explains that he realized her power is most intense when she focuses her range on a single point. He advises her that managing rapid fire is the next step, which will depend on her lung capacity. Shibuya tells Towa that he's honestly very impressed. He comments on how much her movements have changed, assuming she's been practicing a lot on her own. Towa denies it, giving him all the credit and calling him a really good teacher. She insists he is the amazing one for balancing his job, school, and helping her train. Towa continues to praise him, saying it's really amazing. She is touched by how much he's supporting her. She asks if they can go on another date once she passes the exam and gets stronger. She admits she doesn't really see what's in it for him, though. Towa playfully suggests that it seems like Shibuya might have feelings for her, though she adds that maybe it's just her. Completely flustered, Shibuya starts to sweat and can only manage a "huh." Towa's playful demeanor vanishes, replaced by wide-eyed shock as she tells him to wait. Towa calls out his name, waiting in stunned silence for his reaction. Covering his mouth in embarrassment, Shibuya finally asks her directly if she likes him. In a surprising turn, Towa deflects Shibuya's question by asking if he is the one who actually likes her. Her directness leaves her just as shocked as him. His flustered, wide-eyed reaction confirms her suspicion, and he internally admits she's hit the bull's eye. Shibuya panics, trying to deny his feelings, but his stammering only makes him look more guilty. Towa points out that he's giving her the impression that he does, in fact, like her. Overwhelmed by the situation, Shibuya covers his face. Towa jolts in surprise as Shibuya calls her name. He stands and asks her to hear him out, promising to explain himself as best he can. Towa nervously agrees to listen. He begins his explanation, revealing that his family has a long history of being demi-human sheriffs. He solemnly adds that both of his parents were also exceptional sheriffs, but they died. Now only he and his grandfather remain. A traumatic memory surfaces of a young Shibuya returning home to a horrifying, bloody scene where he found his parents' bodies. The sight has clearly left a deep and lasting scar. He explains that it was his parents' will for him to become an exceptional demi-human sheriff, just like they were. This sense of duty is why he initially told Towa he didn't have time to date anyone. He felt that people wouldn't forgive him if he prioritized a relationship over his duty. Towa listens quietly, simply saying, "Oh." After laying out all his burdens, Shibuya looks at Towa with raw emotion and declares that despite everything, he still wants to be with her. Her eyes widen, filling with hope and disbelief at his heartfelt confession. He clarifies that he can't be with her properly until he becomes a sheriff strong enough to make his family proud. He admits he'll be too busy to go on dates and doesn't want to waste her precious time. He passionately declares that becoming a person strong enough to be with her is what he truly wants. Towa is moved to tears by his passionate and vulnerable declaration. Shibuya watches her, his own emotions running high. She is so overwhelmed with emotion that she can only cry as she takes in his words. Internally, Towa reflects that while she couldn't speak, her heart swelled at his words. She silently confesses her love for Shibuya. She vows to wait for him as long as it takes, even until her hair turns gray. Filled with a new sense of purpose, Towa decides she can't just wait around and must take action to reach Shibuya. With newfound determination, she begins to fill out an application. She reasons that if she becomes a demi-human sheriff, she won't cause him any worry. Towa imagines a future where, even if they can't go on dates, they can be together at work. She thinks she might be able to understand some of the worries a sheriff has. She dreams of becoming strong enough to save Shibuya's life one day. Her eyes sparkle with this new resolve. She spends her time studying diligently for the written portion of the exam. The starting pistol fires, signaling the beginning of her intense training. She pushes herself hard in her physical training, determined to pass. One candidate effortlessly pumps heavy weights, much to Towa's surprise. Another candidate with bunny ears easily clears a high jump. As the practical exam approaches, Towa steels herself, determined to do her best. Towa brought a collection of unofficial Shibuya merchandise to give her strength for the big day. She clutches a plushie for comfort, drawing a confused glance from her seatmate Shisui. An announcement signals that they have arrived at the exam site. A beautiful elf instructor addresses the candidates, explaining the details of the practical exam. Towa is momentarily stunned by her appearance. The instructor reveals their task is to act as sheriffs and solve the problems of the local villagers. The problems will range from minor issues to major dilemmas requiring combat, each assigned a set number of points. The higher the difficulty, the more points they can earn, but they won't know the problem's nature in advance. It's up to the examinees to listen to the villagers and decide whether to offer a helping hand. They can choose to accept every case or only the difficult ones likely to score the most points. The lead instructor offers a final, crucial piece of advice. She reminds them that their job is to help people, acting as an ally to both humans and demi-humans. Towa listens intently, realizing that danger isn't necessarily a part of the job. An instructor reminds the candidates that their job as demi-human sheriffs is to help people, stressing that being an ally is more important than strength in a fight. Another instructor announces that it is time to begin the exam. Towa Takanashi reflects on the instructor's words, understanding that their job is to be allies to everyone. The candidates are given GPS devices and told to keep them on for the duration of the test. Towa stands pensively, contemplating the upcoming test. Towa thinks about a personal rule she tries to follow every day. Her rule is to never ignore anyone she sees who is in trouble. She reflects that at first, she was only imitating her darling Shibuya-kun, but now it has become a normal part of her life. Although her original reason for becoming a sheriff was for Shibuya, she now thinks that being an ally to justice is a cool job. Towa wonders if this is the perfect job for her, especially since it means she can be with Shibuya. She is startled to see Shibuya standing there, holding a box of the devices. She stares at him, alarmed by the prominent dark circles under his eyes. Shibuya explains he got restless about her test, so he finished his work and asked to help out. He tells her that although he can't help during the test, he wanted to be nearby. Towa is flustered and overwhelmed by his confession. Shibuya is embarrassed, wondering if he looks as tired as she seems to think. Moved by his words, Towa begins to cry. Filled with determination, Towa tells herself she has to do her best. Just as Shibuya wants to be strong for her, she wants to become strong for him. With tears in her eyes, her resolve solidifies. An announcement signals the start of the test. A man sits alone on a bench, sighing wearily. A group of candidates immediately swarms the man, asking if he needs help. One candidate strikes a pose, proclaiming that he, the great and mighty, will resolve all their problems. Another candidate announces her presence as a demi-human sheriff, offering free consultations. A blonde candidate reassures a villager, telling him not to worry and to leave everything to him. Towa watches the other candidates spring into action. The village is bustling with activity as candidates rush to help the locals. Towa realizes this chaotic scene is the practical test. She understands that the village is full of people who are injured or need assistance. She knows she has to decide quickly whose plea to accept before they are all taken. A young child tugs on the sleeve of a male candidate, asking for help. A small child begs one of the candidates to help him look for his Hanako. The candidate hesitates, realizing Hanako is just a cat. He apologizes, explaining that others might need his help more and that he doubts he'll get many points for finding a cat. The candidate quickly runs off, leaving the child behind. Abandoned, the child begins to wail. Towa watches with a pained expression, hearing the child's cries. She wonders what to do as the child won't stop crying. She tries to rationalize that it's all an act for the test and the boy isn't really in trouble. She feels bad for him but recalls the other candidate's logic that looking for a cat won't yield many points. Towa takes a determined step forward. She approaches the child and gently offers her help. The child looks up surprised and asks if she's serious. Towa smiles and confirms that she is. She asks the child if he remembers where he last saw the cat, who points towards a shrine. She thinks about how Shibuya would never turn his back on someone in this situation. She resolves that if she ignores someone crying, even for a test, she won't deserve to be with Shibuya. She lifts the child, ready to go. With the child on her back, Towa announces they're going to super dash to find Hanako. She dashes off at high speed. From a surveillance room, an observer is amazed that she would help with such a minor problem. Shibuya notes that she must be really kind, probably not even thinking about her points. His heart throbs as he thinks about Takanashi, realizing he loves her. The instructor reminds him that it is a test and she can't simply give points for good intentions. The rule that more difficult tasks yield higher points cannot be changed. However, she adds with a smile that it would be boring if she didn't reward some good deeds. They arrive at a secluded shrine in the woods. Towa confirms this is where the child last saw the cat and asks if he has a picture. He proudly presents a picture of Hanako, a very fluffy cat that doesn't look very Japanese despite the name. Towa thinks she should hurry and find her to gather as many points as possible, sure the request is worth something. She stomps her foot, ready for action. A shiver runs down Towa's spine. The instructor cheerfully states that they have to give good kids the reward they deserve. She adds with a mysterious smile that whether the reward is good or not is up to Towa. At the shrine, Towa and the child are hiding behind a structure. Towa looks on in shock, wondering what she is seeing. Hiding behind a structure at the shrine, Towa holds the child close, covering his mouth to keep him silent. Both stare with wide, terrified eyes as a figure emerges from the darkness of the shrine. The source of their terror is revealed. Instead of a lost cat, they have stumbled upon a headless horseman. An instructor announces that the upcoming practical test will involve facing demi-humans in a real fight. The instructor, an elf with glasses, explains that since every opponent is an active-duty demi-human sheriff, the candidates' lives are not at risk. She continues, stating that all examiners have permission to attack with full force to make the scenarios as real as possible, causing one candidate to sigh in relief. A different candidate interrupts, asking what exactly she means by pushing them to the limit. The instructor clarifies that examiners are allowed to inflict minor injuries like fractures, burns, and flesh wounds. A student expresses shock at the mention of fractures, while another seems unfazed. A cheerful candidate clenches her fist, encouraging Towa not to think of it as a test and to fight as if her life depends on it. Towa is visibly terrified by this prospect, her heart thumping loudly in her chest. Towa and the child recoil in fear as they witness a headless man on a headless horse, the child asking what kind of demi-human it is. The child excitedly recalls seeing something similar in a manga, identifying the creature as a Dullahan. Towa feels a creeping sense of unease she can't quite explain. She recalls her 2 previous fights, where her determination to protect Shibuya left no room for fear. However, she feels in her gut that this Dullahan is different from the others. There's an ominous feeling about him that sets her on edge. A sudden meow catches Towa's attention, and she turns her head in surprise. The Dullahan is holding a cat, which Towa watches with concern. The cat lets out a loud meow while being held by the headless figure. The child gasps, recognizing his cat Hana, but Towa quiets him. Suddenly, a dark, bubbling energy begins to emerge from the Dullahan's neck. A massive wave of dark energy erupts violently from the Dullahan's body. The child screams for his cat Hanako in a panic. The cat Hanako looks on in confusion. Towa instinctively jumps out and demands that the Dullahan unhand the kitty. She immediately regrets her impulsiveness, realizing she jumped into action without thinking. The Dullahan speaks, noting that Towa has seen him. The Dullahan lashes out with a whip-like appendage from his hand. The attack violently shatters the wooden structure Towa had been hiding behind. The wooden structure is completely obliterated, sending debris flying everywhere. Towa looks on, shocked, as the Dullahan dismisses her warning as pathetic. The Dullahan reveals his head, introducing himself as Hansuk Teruda, and proclaims that his motto is to run wild. He proudly declares himself the famous rampaging horse of Shizuoka. Teruda strikes a pose amidst the destruction. Towa thinks to herself that he is really weird and wonders why he had to destroy the shrine. The Dullahan notices that she is just a kid. Towa stands protectively with the child, saying it's her policy not to harm kids because she's a good adult. Teruda explains that he hates being watched while eating, but since she is a kid, he will let her go. Teruda tells Towa to leave now, and he'll forget this ever happened. Towa resolutely refuses to leave. She explains that Hanako is the child's precious kitty and pleads for her return. She then confronts him, asking what he meant by calling the cat a meal. Teruda explains that as a Dullahan, he devours the life force of others and intends to eat the cat. Towa stares at him with a look of disapproval. He asks why she's looking at him like that, insisting she should be patting him on the back for choosing a cat over a human. He compares his need to eat to hers, asking if she thinks he should just starve to death. He argues that he didn't choose to be born with this nature, and asks if it's really a crime for him to eat to survive. He pointedly asks her what she has to say to that, addressing her as a demi-human sheriff. Towa's eyes reflect her inner turmoil as she processes his words. Towa thinks to herself that she also has someone she desperately wants to eat, but knows she must not. She recalls that while her heart doesn't want to, the smell of his blood makes her feel ravenous. To her, he looks like the most delicious meal in the world. The child, listening to her inner monologue, exclaims how hard it must be to resist. But despite the struggle, Towa affirms that she made a choice. A memory of Shibuya smiling brings tears to her eyes as she remembers her desire to spend her life with him. Recalling a happy memory of walking with Shibuya, Towa concludes that she chose not to eat him. Towa firmly tells Teruda that choosing to eat a crying child's cat is not a matter of instinct. She states that it is a choice he has to make, leaving him looking stunned. She bows and offers to help him find a way to eat that won't cause any tears. Towa and the child plead together, begging him not to eat Hanako-chan. Teruda looks down at the two of them, seemingly moved by their plea. He looks at her intently, considering her words. Teruda's expression brightens as he awards Towa 100 points for her response. Towa is left completely baffled by his sudden change in attitude. He excitedly tells her that her answer was sick and that he likes her guts. Towa flushes with embarrassment, realizing she forgot it was just a test and got overly emotional. Teruda tells her he wants to give her a perfect score so she can pass. However, he explains that his role is to play the part of a demi-human who refuses to listen to good sense. With a final pat, he continues his explanation. He launches another attack, forcing Towa and the child to dodge. He shouts that if she wants the cat, she'll have to come and take it from him. He swings his weapon again, emphasizing that without strength, her words are meaningless. He challenges her to prove her conviction with brute force. In a memory, Shibuya confronts someone for digging up everyone's fields. He declares that he won't let any bad deeds slip by, no matter how small. He considered it a lucky, perfect opportunity, not too hard and not too easy. He was determined to keep collecting points with these requests to become a sheriff. He runs eagerly towards the task. A sudden rumble startles Shibuya as something rushes past him in a blur. He stands in the woods, confused, wondering what the noise was. A cloud of dust and motion trails past him. Just as quickly, Towa Takanashi flies past with a flap of her large wings. Shibuya watches her disappear into the distance, amazed at her speed. He also couldn't help but think to himself that she was quite cute. Towa asks her mom what she is doing. Her mother explains that she is cutting wing slits into her school uniform. Towa questions this, thinking they weren't supposed to unfurl their wings outside, but her mother says you never know when you'll be in a pinch. Her mother urged her not to hesitate to use her wings if she was ever in danger. She reminded Towa that with their wings, sirens are almost impossible to catch. In the present, Towa chases Teruda through the dense forest. Teruda looks back with a grin, complimenting her on her impressive speed. However, he taunts that she's still not fast enough to catch him. Teruda boasts that he is the fastest sheriff around, stampeding with godlike speed. He confidently declares that no one can catch him. Annoyed by him and the dangerous flying splinters, Towa thinks that she is pretty fast too. She finds herself unable to catch the surprisingly fast Teruda. She remembers the replica handcuffs she received and believes if she can just get them on him, he should stop. Towa realizes she must stop the horse to get the handcuffs on. Meanwhile, in a control room, one proctor is impressed with how the little siren is keeping up with Teruda-kun. The other expresses surprise that sirens can fly so fast, a sentiment her colleague shares. They note that sirens are just so rare in the first place. The proctors discuss how sirens' secrecy and their special ability means the sheriff's bureau has very little data on them. One is delighted that a siren is taking the test, seeing it as a wonderful sign of changing times. Listening in, Shibuya is stunned, realizing that Takanashi might be far stronger than he ever thought. He admits to himself that he likes her, and that's why he didn't want her involved in any danger. The thought of her ending up like his deceased parents was more frightening to him than death itself. He had assumed he needed status and strength to be able to protect Takanashi, but now realizes it was just an assumption. He wonders if perhaps even someone like him could spend his life with Takanashi. He had told her that they should work hard together. He remembers her asking him to support her while she trained. Filled with a new sense of purpose, Shibuya shouts encouragement to Takanashi, telling her she can do it. Hearing his voice, Towa's expression hardens with determination. Towa launches an attack, but it cracks against the trees with little effect on her target. Teruda laughs, mocking her flimsy attempt, saying it won't even scratch him. He taunts her, telling her not to hold back. Frustrated, Towa thinks it's easy for him to say when it's impossible to get close. Towa grows more annoyed with the splinters, realizing if this keeps up she'll spend the whole test just playing tag. The debris is making it hard for her to see. She stops for a moment, an idea forming. Noticing her pause, Teruda taunts her, asking if she's giving up already. Towa recalls Shibuya's observation that her power is most intense when focused on a single point. She remembers his suggestion that she should try to manage rapid fire. Her eyes narrow with determination. She vows that she will never give up. With renewed conviction, she declares that she will become someone good enough to be with Shibuya-kun. Taking a deep breath, Towa unleashes her full power, sending out a series of powerful sonic booms. The force shatters the trees and ground around her. The entire forest erupts in a storm of splintered wood and debris, crashing down around Teruda and his horse. Amidst the chaos, a piece of paper is pinned to a tree by one of Towa's projectiles, carrying a message: she will become strong because she knows it's for him. Teruda is left speechless by the overwhelming display. Amidst the crashing debris, Teruda's horse screeches to a halt. He looks on in disbelief as Towa dives straight for him through the chaos. Teruda questions why she would do something so crazy. But Towa is filled with resolve, convinced she can succeed. She vows to become someone worthy of being with Shibuya-kun. She makes a solemn promise to be with him forever and ever. With a final, determined cry that they will be together, Towa snaps the handcuffs onto a shocked Teruda. They both stare, stunned by the sudden outcome. A young boy rushes to embrace his cat, Hanako, relieved that she is safe. Towa comforts the crying boy, who thanks her. The headless proctor tells Towa that she is cleared to proceed to her next challenge. The proctor clarifies that while catching him earns her many points, it does not guarantee a pass. Teruda, however, insists that since she beat him, there is no way she can fail. He adds that he would not forgive her if she did. As they ride away, the young boy waves goodbye. As he leaves, Teruda reflects on the absurdity of a newbie stopping his gallop, impressed by her intense motivation. He admires her tenacity to become a sheriff, no matter what it takes. Meanwhile, Towa is lost in her own world, gushing over her love for Shibuya and her determination to be with him forever. The proctor decides to head back to the office, figuring he has nothing else to do. Seeing the small boy still there, Teruda kindly offers him a lift. Teruda looks around, confused. The boy has suddenly run off into the woods, humming. He begins to call out Towa's name. His face contorts into a menacing expression. Standing alone in the forest, he warns Towa that she had better be nice to Kei. Towa recalls her recent efforts, from breaking up fights to performing feats of strength. In one memory, she sees Shibuya, who gives her a small, encouraging smile. And so Towa's demi-human sheriff test finally came to an end. Later, she sits with Shibuya, anxiously checking her phone. Their hearts pound in anticipation. A notification of acceptance arrives. She has passed. Towa excitedly shows Shibuya that she passed. She can't believe she's really going to be a demi-human sheriff. She happily declares that now the two of them will be together. Her excitement is cut short when Shibuya begins to tremble and strikes a bizarre pose, confusing her. Shibuya apologizes, flustered, admitting this is the first time he has ever felt this way. He confesses that he can't resist the urge to hug her right now. Towa is left completely shocked by his confession. Shibuya immediately panics, thinking it's too impure since they aren't officially dating, and tells her to forget it. Though Towa is jolted, she admits she doesn't mind. This sends Towa into her own internal panic, worrying if she is mentally prepared for a hug. She fears she will die if she disappoints Shibuya. After the awkward moment, Shibuya shyly suggests a compromise. In the quiet of the library, he asks if they can hold hands instead, and she agrees. Their hearts pound as they hold hands. Towa reassures herself that a handshake is fine. Shibuya nervously agrees, but she finds the warmth from his skin is making her heart pound so much she might go crazy. Towa believes this must be the most special handshake in the world. Shibuya then sincerely thanks her for falling for someone like him. Towa looks at him, confused, thinking he does not get it. Just then, her phone pings with a message from someone else confessing they've always liked her. Towa arrives at what she believes is the Bureau's training location. On her first day as a trainee, she is determined to do her best. She dreams that if she can stay by Shibuya's side, they might hold hands again. She even imagines that someday they might even kiss. Her daydream is interrupted when a boy with light hair and fangs points at her, accusingly calling her the weird girl from back then. Towa is confused by the sudden accusation. She tries to place him from a vague memory on a bus. Towa learns that this is Kiichi Shisui. She realizes he is a dampir, a half-vampire. Kiichi consults a schedule, noting with anticipation that it's only 5 hours until someone is destined to fall in love. Towa calmly tells him he has the wrong person as a new challenge approaches in the form of a formidable heartthrob. A boy with light hair confronts Towa, accusing her of being the fangirl who brought idol merchandise to the test. Towa staunchly defends her crush, declaring that Shibuya-kun is not an idol but a national treasure. The boy is left utterly baffled by her statement. Kiichi incredulously summarizes that Towa is carrying merchandise for a classmate she likes and becoming a demi-human sheriff for him. Towa basically confirms his summary. Blushing, she happily adds that he feels the same way, even if they aren't officially dating yet. Kiichi scoffs, labeling her the backup girl, which makes Towa furiously deny it. She insists their situation is complicated. He presses further, questioning why they wouldn't be dating if their feelings were truly mutual. His question leaves Towa at a loss for words. Kiichi waves her off, saying it has nothing to do with him. He states that romance is just trash anyway. His words seem to trigger a painful memory of him telling someone named Kiichi to leave. He recalls telling the person he didn't want to see their face. He bluntly tells a stunned Towa that love doesn't exist. He calls her stupid for signing up for a dangerous job like a demi-human sheriff based on a fleeting emotion like love. Towa is shocked by his harsh words. Furious, Towa retorts that they just met, and he has no right to call her stupid, especially since he started the conversation. She declares her hatred for the rude boy. Their argument is interrupted by Shibuya, who introduces himself as their instructor. Shibuya senses the tension and asks if something happened between them. Towa growls, angrily denying that anything is wrong. He quietly advises them to get along since they'll be training together, which only shocks Towa. Towa is horrified at the prospect of being stuck with a potato head. She explains to a bewildered Shibuya that when a guy is boring, he starts to look like a potato to her. Kiichi is offended by the insult, insisting he's a super hot guy. Shibuya cuts them off, telling them that's enough. He reminds them that their duties will be dangerous and require teamwork. He stresses the importance of cooperation, worried about their immediate animosity. Towa concedes that he's right, realizing she needs to be serious for her upcoming missions. Towa thinks about the real battles ahead, ones she might not survive. She gulps and resolves to get serious. She and Kiichi stand in a tense silence. The awkward silence continues. After a moment, Towa breaks the silence to get his attention. A flustered Kiichi asks for her name. She introduces herself as Towa Takanashi. He introduces himself as Kiichi Shisui. He apologizes to Takanashi for what he said. He explains that conversations about love trigger bad flashbacks, which caused him to get annoyed. He insists, however, that he is serious about becoming a demi-human sheriff. Kiichi asks if they can start over and work together from now on. Towa agrees. She is surprised that he actually apologized properly. As Shibuya sighs in relief, the two trainees make amends. Shibuya informs them that their client is on their way but running late. Towa's heart pounds with nervous excitement for her first mission. She is determined to show Shibuya how cool she can be, especially since he'll be watching. Shibuya seems to offer a silent word of encouragement. His encouragement makes her blush. A large young woman comes rushing toward them, panting and apologizing profusely for being late. As the woman catches her breath, Towa and Kiichi are taken aback. Both trainees stare up at her, shocked by her sheer size. Shibuya calmly introduces her as Oka-san from the Bureau's welfare department. Shibuya brightly announces their first mission. They are to work together to help Oka-san start dating the person she loves. Towa and Kiichi are completely floored, their minds reeling as they process their assignment. Their first mission objective is romance. The chapter introduces Hansuke Terada, a Dullahan who, despite having a separated head, can sense his surroundings through sound. Ryeji Agasa, an elf-like individual, asks Hansuke if he really needs to keep his head in that specific spot. Hansuke proudly declares it's the best position as it consolidates his vital organs into a single point of defense. Ryeji covers his face, finally understanding the crude but clever strategy at play. Towa Takanashi is introduced as a Siren, a demi-human with the compulsion to eat the person she falls in love with. She manages to suppress her appetite by keeping her stomach full, which she can do without gaining weight. However, her stomach betrays her with a loud, demanding growl. Towa freezes in embarrassment after her stomach audibly growls in the quiet library. While studying for a test with Shibuya, she internally frets that he must have heard her. A blushing Towa looks away, sweating with anxiety. A flustered Towa brings up the subject, asking if her noisy stomach bothers him. Shibuya confirms that he does hear it every once in a while, including at that very moment, causing Towa to reel in shock. Towa asks Shibuya if he is afraid of her, given her demi-human nature and instinct to eat him. Shibuya simply communicates that he is not scared. He elaborates that she is more important to him than anyone, and he has faith that she wouldn't really act on her urges. Shibuya looks at her directly and confesses that she is the person he wants to be with. Towa is visibly moved and flustered by his heartfelt confession. He clarifies that his only worry is for her well-being and any potential suffering she might endure by being with him. Towa is overcome with emotion, internally declaring her love for Shibuya as her stomach growls in concert with her racing heart, a true sign of a siren's affection. A new client, Mikaru Ogre from the Sheriff's Bureau's welfare department, nervously introduces herself as an ogre demi-human. Despite the ferocious stereotype of her race, she is incredibly shy with a very quiet voice, looking forward to working with the team. Kei and a girl are taken aback, noting her large stature but whispering voice. Mikaru shyly shows the team a photo of the man she likes, Kyoji Shido. Towa and a light-haired boy agree that he's very good-looking, though Towa maintains Shibuya is number one. She gushes that he is the nicest and most perfect person ever. However, just thinking about Kyoji causes Mikaru to lose control of her strength. She accidentally crushes her cup in her hands with a loud sploosh. Kei and Towa watch in surprise. The cup disintegrates into sand as she realizes she can't control her strength anymore. Mikaru explains that she panics and goes on rampages, which is why she can never finish a date. She has asked for their help to stop her from running away or causing destruction so she can finally see a date through to the end. Her ultimate goal is to confess her feelings to Kyoji and reveal that she is a demi-human. The team is impressed by her courage. Kei notes that missions like this, supporting human and demi-human coexistence, are central to the Bureau's purpose. Towa thinks that's amazing. Towa reflects on her own struggles, remembering that it took all her courage just to confess her feelings to Shibuya. She still hasn't been brave enough to admit she's a demi-human. She can only imagine how determined Mikaru must be to have made up her mind. Lost in thought, Towa admits to herself that she still hasn't told Shibuya the most important thing. In the present, Mikaru waits nervously for her date, who is expected to arrive any moment. The team communicates with her through an earpiece, asking if she can hear them. Kei confirms their communication link with Mikaru. He then tells the team it's time to review their plan of action. Their primary goal is to provide conversational support and physically prevent Mikaru from fleeing or rampaging. He explains that she panics easily and is not a great conversationalist, so they need to be ready to help. The light-haired boy is determined to help Mikaru confess her feelings safely. He interrupts to ask if he can say something. He asks if they really think a human and a demi-human getting together is a good idea. Towa and Kei are taken aback by his question. He then reveals that his mother was human and his father was a vampire. He recounts his parents' story. They had a fateful encounter and fell deeply in love. His mother chose to become a vampire so they could be together forever. He then poses a question to his teammates, asking what they think happened after that. The story takes a tragic turn, as his father casually fell in love with someone else and abandoned his family. The boy explains that from his vampire father's perspective, this was natural. However, for his human-turned-vampire mother, it was not. The shock of being abandoned by the man she gave up her humanity for was too much for his mother, and she has been hospitalized ever since. He adds that he doubts he will ever see her again, as his resemblance to his father is too painful for her. He clarifies that this isn't a sob story. Kei listens intently as the boy prepares to make his point. He concludes that love can be ruined by fleeting emotions, and he wants to prevent that from happening for the benefit of both humans and demi-humans. His words leave Kei speechless. Kei is shaken from his thoughts by an alert. Kyoji has arrived. Snapping back to the mission, he urges the others to focus on making the date a success. Kei tells the light-haired boy they can share his story with Mikaru later. The boy quietly agrees. Just then Kyoji arrives, cheerfully greeting Mikaru as princess and apologizing for the wait. Kyoji immediately starts complimenting Mikaru, telling her she looks incredibly cute, which surprises Kei and Towa. Flustered by his praise for her outfit, Mikaru asks him to stop. Kyoji smiles, seemingly about to say more. Kyoji Shido, a host, flashes a charming smile and asks if she dressed up so pretty just for him, adding that she knows how to make a guy happy. Seeing this, Kei and Towa realize their target is a major player, and the mission just became much more tense. A recap of the previous chapter shows that a charming player dude has appeared on the scene. Towa and her friends question where the photo of Kyoji is from and note, he looks different in person. Mikaru explains that the photo is from Kyoji's club, revealing that he works as a host, much to Towa's shock. Kyoji greets Mikaru warmly, calling her princess. He offers to carry her bag, making Mikaru blush. He compliments her hair, admitting he has a thing for girls with pretty hair, which flusters Mikaru even more. Kyoji confesses that the anticipation of their date motivated him through his entire work week. Kyoji tells Mikaru that seeing her is comforting, and he might want to see her every day. The spying team is shocked into silence, realizing that Kyoji is a pro. Kei and Kiichi watch in disbelief, as Kyoji expertly flatters and guides Mikaru. Towa wonders how Mikaru is still okay, thinking she would have passed out if Shibuya treated her that way. Kyoji steps aside for a work call, leaving a flustered Mikaru to ask him to wait. Overwhelmed, Mikaru grabs a pole, her immense strength causing it to crack and bend as Kei yells for her to stop. A tearful Mikaru apologizes, saying she always gets incredibly nervous. She tells her friends that Kyoji is a prince, while they look on with concern. Towa and Kei are at a loss, wondering what their next move should be. Kei expresses his concern that they don't know Kyoji's true character, especially given his profession. He reminds the others that a host's job is to entertain women and earn money through donations. Towa and Kyoji whisper their suspicions, noting that his act is too perfect and he must have an ulterior motive. The team discusses what to do if Kyoji is tricking Mikaru, deciding they need to listen in longer. Mikaru turns to them, disheartened, and says she knew they wouldn't support her getting together with Kyoji. Mikaru explains that whenever people learn Kyoji is a host, they are against him. They tell her to give up, certain that he must have an ulterior motive. She says they don't care about how they spent their time together or why she fell in love. Mikaru sadly concludes that everyone's judgment boils down to the fact that he's a host and she's a demi-human. Towa gently asks Mikaru if what everyone says is true. With tears in her eyes, Mikaru questions if her love for him is truly a mistake. Towa is struck by a sudden realization, thinking to herself how stupid she has been. Towa realizes she is doing to Mikaru the one thing she hated experiencing herself. She understands that she is denying someone's feelings for another. She admits to herself that she hardly even listened to Mikaru. Towa calls out to Mikaru, whose nickname is Okasan. Towa takes Mikaru's hands and apologizes for hurting her. She looks Mikaru in the eyes and reassures her that the way she feels is not a mistake, promising to support her. Kei chimes in, saying there's no such thing as right or wrong when it comes to liking someone. He finishes by stating that it's not something anyone else should decide for her. Towa asks Mikaru why exactly she started to like Kyoji. Mikaru explains that at first, she didn't know what Kyoji did for a living. She recounts how she saved him during a street fight and he offered to take her to dinner to thank her. Mikaru explains she rarely talks to human guys and got so nervous on their date that it ended abruptly. She thought they would never see each other again after that. But to her surprise, he sent her a message inviting her out again. She confesses that she gets too nervous and runs away every time, but he always promises they'll meet again. Each and every time, he just tells her they will see each other next time. Mikaru tearfully recalls that Kyoji always looks so happy whenever they meet. She finishes by saying she has never known anyone like that in her whole life. Mikaru confesses that she started to think of him as someone she wants to spend her life with. She declares with tears in her eyes that she really, really likes Kyoji. Towa tells Mikaru that she has to tell Kyoji how she feels. She encourages Mikaru to make sure she conveys her true feelings to him. Mikaru covers her face and agrees. Kyoji looks on, impressed by the scene. Kyoji receives a text from Mikaru saying she's on her way back from the bathroom. He feels relieved, admitting to himself he thought she might have taken off again. He steels his resolve, knowing he really has to talk to her today. A waiter who is actually Kei in disguise asks if Kyoji needs anything else. A close-up reveals Kei's monstrous, inhuman mouth. Kei, disguised as a waiter, smiles and tells Kyoji to enjoy his meal, hinting at the hidden complexities of their situation. The date starts up again with a clink of silverware against a plate of pancakes. A nervous Mikaru brings the first bite of pancake to her mouth. At a cozy cafe booth, Kyoji asks Mikaru if the sweet and delicious meal is good. Mikaru is too flustered to form a response. Towa's voice comes through an earpiece, urging Mikaru to say the food is delicious. Towa insists that guys love a girl who enjoys her food, a sentiment Kyoji seems to doubt. Towa dismisses Kyoji's opinion on romance, calling him out for his cynicism. Meanwhile, Kei thinks to himself that he also likes girls who enjoy eating but is too embarrassed to say so. Mikaru finally speaks, telling Kyoji that the pancakes are delicious. Kyoji is taken aback for a moment by her response. He then smiles, remarking on how cute she is. Mikaru's heart pounds in her chest from the unexpected compliment. Watching from afar, her friends panic, with Towa shouting for her not to give in to the feeling. They frantically urge her to stay in control of her powers and not let her emotions get the best of her. Mikaru resolves to do her best. Towa explains over the radio that showing control of her powers is crucial if she's going to confess to being a demi-human. Mikaru understands that she wants someone to love her completely, even after knowing everything about her. Kyoji agrees with Towa's assessment. Kei, however, looks on with confusion. The plate is now empty, signaling the end of their meal. Inside the cafe, Kei, still in his waiter disguise, hums as he clears the table. Kyoji and Mikaru walk together outside, him smiling and her looking flustered but content. The support team is shocked by the new development in the date. They watch as Mikaru and Kyoji continue their date at a new location. The couple stands together, quietly observing a large aquarium exhibit. Mikaru seems to be enjoying herself at the aquarium with Kyoji. Towa comments that Mikaru is doing great. Kiichi wonders if their presence is even necessary, but Kei thinks she'll be fine. Kei reminds them they need to see this through, as Mikaru still seems ready to bolt. Kiichi wonders why she is putting so much effort into the date. Towa questions if Mikaru can find happiness by pushing herself past her limits. Her thoughts drift to a memory of Kei holding her hand. Kiichi watches and confidently states that Mikaru can definitely find happiness. Kiichi states that if there is a chance of being with someone you love, you should be ready to do anything. In a different scene, a young man with pointed ears remarks that the sentiment sounds like his old lady. Kyoji genuinely thanks Mikaru for the day. He reveals that this is the first time she has stayed with him until the end of a date, calling her princess. Towa gives Mikaru one last push, telling her all she has to do is confess. Kyoji addresses her by her real name, Mikaru-san. He explains he was too shy to use her name before and won't be anymore. Kyoji confesses that he likes Mikaru. Flustered, he asks if she would be willing to go out with him. Towa and Kei are shocked that Kyoji confessed first. Kiichi makes the point that Kyoji wouldn't have kept seeing her if he didn't like her. Kyoji asks if she remembers their first meeting. He recalls being attacked by a coworker and how she passed by and saved him. He remembers it as the very first time anyone had ever saved him. He recalls how she was trembling while she protected him. Vowing to return the favor, he declares that this time, he wants to be the one to protect her. Overcome with emotion, Mikaru asks him to please date her. Mikaru is stunned into silence by his confession and his vow to protect her. Towa is overjoyed, realizing their feelings for each other are mutual. She believes a happy ending is within reach, if only he can accept Mikaru's secret. But as she hopes for the best, a feeling of unease settles in. Towa cries tears of joy for her friend, hoping they can find love in each other, but her tears are black. The scene hints at an unexpected interference to this happy moment.